Hello there. Welcome to Engineering Drawing Made Easy. In today's video, we are going to work on the basics of technical drawing. Right? So I'm going to introduce to you some key concepts or key things to know when you want to do technical drawing or any form of engineering related drawing. Right. The first thing we do is that we start with the drawing instruments or the instruments you need for technical drawing. Now, as you can see here, right, the very first thing you need is your drawing board or drawing surface. Mostly for technical drawing and engineering drawing, you'll be needing a drawing board and a T-square, right? Then you need your set squares, then a protractor, a straight edge or rule. Um, Sometimes, depending on what you do, you need your set of French curves, and most importantly, your pencil. Right now, if you look closely, I'm using an H pencil. Okay, this pencil is a bit harder compared to HB pencil, which is the most common pencil on the market. If you go in when you say you're buying a pencil or a pencil lead, the the probability of it being an HB pencil is really high because then it's like some sort of all-purpose pencil. But for each pencil and then the other each series, um, they are mostly for technical drawing purposes because their lids are hard enough and then can give you fine and clear lines. So um, I use H pencil depending on the requirements of your supervisor. It might require you to use an H pencil, or some people even prefer going a bit harder. So you use something like a 2H pencil for constructional lines and all that. So the pencil is really important and make sure it's well sharpened, right? Yeah. And then for these instruments, I mean, I would assume everyone knows what it is. So yeah, you need them for your drawing. So yeah, basically in every technical drawing, these are some of the most common tools you'll be using, and you'll be using that most often in this course or on this channel, right? Now, let's go on to another important thing in this course, and that would be the drawing board and then the T square. Okay. Um, if you have ever done technical drawing in any points in your academic life, right, or academic career, let me put it that way, you would have come across this. That is, if you did technical drawing, you would have used it before. But most people um, didn't do technical drawing, or it's not everyone who did technical drawing. So you might have seen these instruments before, the drawing board and the T square, but you might not really know how to use it. So I'm going to explain some brief stuff, something brief to you, um, the whole point of the drawing board and then the T square, and we'll go on to how to use it. So we have our drawing board here, we have our T square here, right? Now, what you need to know about the drawing board is that we have something called the effective surface of the drawing board. The drawing board can have two surfaces or even more. We have this surface and then the one on the other end, right? But this surface is called the effective surface. And it's called that, or is a surface of interest, because that is where you have your sheet, right? So this surface must always be kept in good shape, like intact. There shouldn't be any um, punctures or protrusion or any breakages on the surface. I mean, it's really important. Whatever that happens on this drawing board affects the quality of the work you produce. So you always have to pay attention to the effective surface, which is the front part of the drawing board, and then make sure you keep it in good condition as much as possible. Another thing we need to know is this edge here on the left side, and then we call that the effective edge. We call that the effective edge because we couple it or we align it with the T square for drawing. Now, whenever they are making drawing boards, or yeah, whoever is making the drawing board pays really much attention to this effective edge here, and then the surface. They make sure the surface is as smooth as possible, so that when you have your paper on it, you don't have any issues with it. And then also this surface, they mostly use their tri square or any other instrument they can use and make sure that is perfectly what do you call it, perpendicular, right, to the other edges. Now they do that so they ensure that it's perfectly perpendicular because I mentioned earlier we couple it with the T square. So everything that happens here affects it. If you have part of this edge being broken or misaligned or something happened to it and it's damaged, that means your drawing board would not be of much use any longer. If you use it, it might cause you um a lot of trouble along the line with your work. Now, there are some cases where you can get the drawing board and then the drawing board is not of really high quality or is not all that good because this is technical stuff, right? But if you have someone who is not of a technical background or doesn't even know the use of the drawing board and you tell him to make a drawing board for you, they might not pay attention to this edge. So whenever you get a drawing board, you would have to make sure that you check this left side, right? Make sure that it's in line of the drawing board. These days, because of mass production, most people don't pay attention to the edge and they just do whatever they want to do. So you always have to be careful and then check that um that line, this edge here is as straight as possible. Now we also have the T square, right? And then the T square has a head. So there's the head of the T square, and then there's the rule, right? And it's always placed on the left side. Yeah, I don't think I've come across someone with the T square on the right side. It's mostly placed on the left side, and it's designed that way. I mean, in terms of having the effective edges and also or having the effective edge and also the effective edge of the T squares T square. Okay, so when you have the head always has to be intact, right? So it's part is a really key part to pay attention to it, right? If you have a damaged head, that means the T square will also not be in a good shape to use. And um, this part of the T square is also called the effective edge of the T square because that's what you put in here to align the T square and then make sure that everything is fit um, in order. Now, the reason why I've spent much time talking about the effective edges and all that is that it's really important to understand and then know the use and how it affects the entire thing, right? Because whenever you are drawing, you would be drawing horizontal lines, right? And horizontal lines are mostly very important because they are mostly a reference line for other drawings. So you'll be drawing horizontal lines and then you keep drawing horizontal lines throughout the entire work. We use the set square to draw horizontal, we use the T square, sorry, we use the T square to draw horizontal lines, and then we use the T square with the set square to draw vertical lines. Now, if you use the instruments properly, it'll be very easy to do the drawing. But if you don't understand the T square, how it relates to the drawing board, and how the paper or the sheet also is affected by everything you do your work and then you end up not getting the results you're looking for. So once again, always make sure that this edge of your drawing board is really intact, it's as straight as possible, and then your T square is also in good shape. If you have a T square with half of the head broken or the head being shaky, it wouldn't give you good results. Now, I've mentioned that the T square is always placed on the left side, right? And there is one key thing you also have to know when it comes to using the T-square and the drawing board, and is that you must ensure that this edge here, effective edge of the T-square, is always against that of the drawing board. Whenever you're about to draw a line, let's say like this, a horizontal line, you first have to make sure that the T-square is against the effective edge, right? You just you just don't draw anyhow. I mean, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You might have to make sure that it's always against it. So you make it firm against it, and then you draw the line. I mean, sometimes if you want, you can still hold on to it, and then you draw the horizontal line, right? So always pay attention to your drawing board and then the T square, and then make sure it's always against it when you're drawing the line. Um, yeah, those will be the basics. Now there is a lot to it when it comes to T square, drawing board, and all the other things you can do. But let's leave this here, and then along the line you would know more. Now, the next thing is how to use the T square, and then how to use the set square, right? I've already mentioned how to use the T square earlier. Was trying to explain um, the use of the T square or how it relates with the drawing board, right? So it's very much simple. Like I mentioned, we we use the T square to draw horizontal lines. So in any technical drawing, right? As long as you're drawing a horizontal line, you just have to pick your T square. You slide it over to the position where you want. Make sure the head is firmly against the effective edge of the drawing board. You hold your rule in place, and then you draw your line. It's as simple as that. Now, if this gives you a horizontal line, right, and you want to use your set square, so the set square, you have two set squares, right? There's a 45 degrees set square. There's a 30-60 degree set square. Um, yeah, so you should know this. If you don't, now you know. Um, if you want to draw a line, right, a vertical line, the T square is for horizontal lines. So you use the set square with the T square for vertical lines. Okay, it's important to know these stuffs because this is the right thing to do. This is the appropriate thing to do when it comes to technical drawing. So you have your T square set firmly against the drawing board, and then you come with your set square, and you let it sit right on the T square. So you see it's sitting on the T square. That's why I can slide it up and down. So the T square can slide up and down this way, and then you sit the set square on the T square, and that too can slide up and down this way, and then you draw a line. This gives you a vertical line, right? So if this drawing is done correctly, says we used the T square to draw this line, and we have a set square set on the T square, right? This line should be a perfect perpendicular line. So the angle here should be 90 degrees. So should this be, so should this be, and so should this be, right? So yeah, if you're good at math, you would understand what is going on. That they work together, and then they give you perfect horizontal and then vertical lines, and you can easily get perpendicular lines from this. This is also the same. This is the 1060, and then it can work the same, right? You can use this edge, and you still have a vertical line, or if you want, you can set that this way. If let's say you want to draw a very long vertical line, right? So it's like that. You can use the set square this way, and then yeah, profession comes with practice. So if you've never done technical drawing before and this is your first time, these tools are really good tools to get used to and then know how to use them.
If this lesson is helpful so far, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming tutorials.
Now, another key thing to know is that the set squares have their names, right? And then their names come from the angle or the degree of angle that they produce when you used to draw a line. So let's say, let's use this as an example, right? We have a horizontal line here, okay? And we've got this as a point A on the line. Now, if we want to draw a line from this point at an angle of 45 degrees, right? We come with our 45-degree set square, set it up here. Okay, we still hold T square firm in place, and then we set the set square or the 45-degree set square on the T square and slide until we get to the point. Okay, and we draw a line. Okay, if we want to do on the other end, we can just flip it this way. And that will give us 45 degrees. So it's really simple, straightforward. But if you find it confusing, it means it's all really new to you, and then you need to practice a lot more. If you want to draw another line at the same point but 30 degrees, right? So with this T square, right, at the same place, so whichever. The important thing is that you have to make sure it fits firmly in place here. Then you put your 30 60 degrees to square. This is called 30 60 because unlike this one that is the same on both ends, right? So you have 45 here, you have 45 here. This is 30 60. The angle these two lines make, right? 30 is 30 degrees. Yeah, let me put that right, 30 degrees. So the angle here is 30 degrees, and then this and this line, okay, the angle they make here is 60 degrees. So we have the name 30 60 degrees. And if you have these two lines, right, the angle that this and then this line, okay, this and this line make here is 90 degrees. So we have the name 30 60 degrees because those are the two um, key angles they make. So if you want to draw a line 30 degrees, you can set it here up on your T square, right? And then you slide, you make sure that T square is firm in place, you slide to the point, and then you draw your line. Okay, if you want to draw it on the other side, rather, you flip it over. And one key thing is that sometimes there will be space beneath, right? So if you are not careful, the set square might slip beneath. That is wrong. It has to sit on the T square. So you make sure the head is fit firmly against the edge. You hold the rule down and then you sit the set square on the T square. Okay. Now you slide over to the point and then you draw a line that gives you 30 degrees, right? To draw 60 degrees is similar to what we did earlier. Just turn and use the other end. That gives you the 60 degrees. So the same approach, you sit it here and draw a line. Okay. And for similar thing, you can just flip it over on the other end. then you draw a line. Now, if you want to draw a line that has an angle of 90 degrees, all you can do is just slide this here. 90 degrees means 90 degrees means that it's perpendicular, right? I I hope that that is fairly common knowledge. So, right. So there you have it. Yeah, this is really basic, and it should be something that you know, practice and use to it. That when you want to do technical drawing. Now, there may be cases where you'll be required to do a technical drawing or produce a technical drawing, and you wouldn't have a T square with you or a drawing board with you. Um, Such situations are really rare. It's not advisable to do it without the proper instruments, right? But it can happen. So when it happens that way, okay, the surface or the table that you have your sheet placed on, becomes your effective surface. So you must make sure that whichever table or decks you'll be drawing on is as smooth as possible, because then that is your effective surface, and whatever happens, um, or whatever the quality of the surface would affect the quality of work you produce. Yes, let me put it that way. So if it's a rough surface, you wouldn't get smooth lines, and if it's a smooth surface, well, you get smooth lines. For the effective edge, the sides or the edges of the sheet would be your effective edge. So just as you have your T-square set firmly against the edge of the drawing board, if you want to draw a horizontal line, you come with your set square, and then you make sure that it falls exactly on the edge, right? It falls exactly on the edge, and you draw your horizontal line. Anywhere you want to draw a horizontal line, you just make sure that it falls exactly on the edge, and then you draw your horizontal line. Um, Similar case, if you want to draw a vertical line, you set and make sure that it falls exactly on the edge, and then you draw a vertical line. Another thing, or another way to go about it, is that after your first horizontal line that you've drawn, right, you can set that as your reference line for horizontal lines, and you can set your set square on this particular one. So draw the other lines that you would be interested in. Okay, so yeah, it's really not advisable to go this way, but then there are cases where you wouldn't have your T square and then your set square, and sometimes you even be forced to use the smaller set squares in the masset, right? You'll be forced to use the smaller set squares, and it follows the same principle that you go with the bigger ones, right? So this will give you a horizontal line, and then if it's not long enough, you can always extend it. Okay, but basically, um, That's how you can use only the sheet without a T square and then a set square. No, without a T square and a drawing board, you can't do it without a set square. Yeah, you have this for horizontal lines, and then you go this way for vertical lines, or this way for vertical lines. It's the same thing. If you're confused, you just have to sit and practice with it, and it would open up to you. Yeah, you would understand more. Now we are going to work on how to draw lines, right? I'm sure everyone knows how to draw a line, or I mean has drawn a line before, but in technical drawing there is a skill to drawing lines, and then the the quality of skills you have concerning um drawing lines, handling the instruments, the understanding even of the instruments and exactly what you're doing, um almost all the time influence the results that you produce, right? So the work that you produce, the quality of work you produce depends on how skillful you are in handling your instruments, okay, and then understanding what you are doing. So you can draw, everyone can draw, but the quality improves as you improve your skill in using the instruments and then understand what you're drawing. I think that's the most basic thing. And then you just have to practice more to improve the skill. So yeah, if you don't know now, you know. But if you want to draw, right, mostly you have to get your pencil um really well sharpened, okay, and then you set the pencil against your straight edge. Now, when you set against the straight edge, you'd gauge with your eye. I mean, you don't put the pencil like this and then draw, right? We don't draw like this in technical drawing. In some other form of drawing, maybe you can do something like that, because yeah, you can do something like that in some form of drawing. But in technical drawing, where you are drawing against a straight edge, you you slant it, right? So somewhere region about 60 degrees or 50 or slightly higher than 60, but it should be slanted in this kind of obtuse angle, right? And then you set it right against the straight edge, and then you pull along the straight edge, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, we don't set it right up 90 degrees like this and then draw. We slant it. And when you slant, you pull along, right, with one stroke. We don't we don't draw like this. We don't do and go back and forth, right? Um Another thing that is a skill that comes with developing is, or comes with practice, is that as you pull along, right, you try rotating the pencil a bit so that you keep having a really sharp edge and gets fine and clear line. Okay. Yeah. If you're doing the same with as the set of set squares, okay, you set it up and then you slant and then you pull along. Okay. Now, it's really important that you practice this, because pulling along helps you to keep constant pressure, and also how do we put it? To sit right against the edge and get continuous lines, or straight lines that are singular, right? I mean, one key thing to avoid in technical drawing is double lines and other issues that your skill is of low quality. So pulling along and drawing just once, or making a one straight stroke, is really important. You need to practice to get to the level where you just gauge what you want to draw, and then in one stroke you draw whatever you need to draw. It's really important. Now, like I said, we don't sit straight forward or 90 degrees and then draw. No, we don't do that. If you even have a look, um this was not even intentional, right? But then I was just doing to show that we don't do that. And You can see if you set it straight up ahead, the starting point is a bit thicker or deeper compared to how it ends here, and that is not really acceptable in technical drawing, right? So we don't go like that, and we also don't slant and draw like this. We don't do that. Okay, you just pull along singular, and that is all. So practice more, and then yeah, you'd get it and you'd improve. For vertical lines, you can also pull along this way, right? So you have it, then you pull along. Okay. The important thing to know is that the pencil has to be slanted, right, in an obtuse angle. So something like 60, slightly less or slightly higher, but it should be slanted this way. And then you pull along the direction where it is slanted, right? The moment you go opposite where it's slanted, or the moment you go the other way, you're pushing against the pencil, which mostly doesn't give you good results. So if you're comfortable and you slant it this way and you can draw, that is fine. But whichever direction is slanted, you pull along that direction. Now, in technical drawing, there are three key lines that you need to know how to draw, right? Most most other lines come from this, or most other lines are variation of this, right? But then, from my point of view, these are the three basic lines that you should know how to draw, and then practice on how to draw. Okay, and the first thing would be a continuous line. So you set up your instruments, everything, and then you draw a continuous line. Okay, now it's really important to learn this. It might look fairly easy, right? But then, if you take a look at mine, it's consistent throughout, right? No part is thicker than the other. There's a continuous line, no double lines. Um, yeah, it's as clear and straightforward as a line can be. Okay, so it's really important to learn how to draw continuous lines. We have, I mean, different kinds of continuous lines. You have the thin, we have the thick continuous lines, and all that, right? But the key point is continuous, and is straightforward, or it's clean. Yeah, let me put it that way, because then you'll be cases where you can have double lines and all that. That shouldn't happen. Okay, it's just one stroke continuous line, and that is it. Now, the next line, important line that you need to know is the short dashes. Okay, is the short dashes. It has its uses in technical drawing. That's not the aim for this tutorial, right? But it's important to know how to draw the short dashes, and there is a way to it as well. So for the short dashes, this is how you draw it. Yes, and then if you have a if you take a careful look at this, right, there should be some sense of consistency in it. Okay, now there you have a line, and then space, and then a line, right? And for short dashes, always the line is bigger than the space in between it, right? So um a way to look at it and practice is that when you have a space, and let's say this space is 1 unit, okay, so let's say 1 millimeter or 1 centimeter. I mean, it can't be that big, but I'm just saying. So let's say 1 unit. Okay, let's say one um micrometer. Um, this space the next line should be about um, three times the space you have here, right? So this visible line here, or this line here, should be about three times the space you have in between. So it's ranging from somewhere to 2 to 5 times, right? If you have two times it, it's okay, but it's looking a bit too small. If you look, this was not big enough, but those are the variations. Ideally, the lines should be bigger than the spaces, and then it should range from three to about 5 times the space. Yes. Anything beyond that is it stops becoming a short dash, and then um it doesn't look well. Yeah. So mostly you just have to play around that, and then um make sure that you are having it that way. I'm not saying you sit and then you measure, right? But then you just gauge with your eyes, and then you draw, and then you have that. Yeah. Another line to consider, or another important line, will be the chain line. Okay. So the chain line is similar to the short dashes. It's just that the difference is that you'd have one long line, you get a space, you have a short line, and then a space, another long line, space, short line, long, short, long, short, long, short. So this is a chain line, and all these lines have their uses in technical drawing, right? That would go into that later, but these lines, it's important you know how to draw them. A continuous line, short dashes, and a chain line. You'll be using that often throughout technical drawing. The same way you can draw for vertical lines as well, right? So you'd have a continuous line, you'd have your short dashes, right? You'd have your chain line, right? So it's really important to practice, and then get used to this, because then these are the basics, right? These are just something you need to know in order to actually learn something from the program or the course in technical drawing.